Good morning, everybody. This is an episode of the Keep Going podcast, Athletes Shining a Light on Mental Health. I am so excited. I got Diamond. I'm not going to say Boyd. We'll go into that a little bit later on the podcast. I got David Mitchell on here as well. What's up, Dave?
How we doing, P? What's going on? I'm coming out of Colorado today. Another beautiful day. I got work here in a little bit, but I'm excited to be here on the pod and talk about mental health today. What's
I
going on
love.
with you?
Hey, I saw the Bucky's hoodie in the closet. I threw it on. I was excited. There's football Sunday. I'm excited to have Diamond here. What's up, Diamond?
Hi, how are you guys? I'm here from Iowa, in case anyone cares.
We care. We absolutely do. And talk about you just moved, correct? You were saying in the prelude.
Yeah, so I about a year ago moved from Cedar Rapids, Iowa to Des Moines area, Iowa, so a little bit of a bigger city.
I love it. I love it. I was figuring out in the prelude as well that I am the only non-Iowa ever living there kind of person. So that's interesting, but we'll probably go into that too. But Diamond, to kind of get us rolling on the mental health side of things, talk about what you've done this week for your mental health and what you're doing in your daily routine.
I'm a big believer in self-care and positive self-talk. Um, I actually do therapy right now, mental health therapy, and I'm a mental health professional in a local county jail here in Iowa.
Thank you for doing
So
that, by the way.
yeah. So I have I think a lot of heaviness throughout my day in general. And so for myself, I make sure that I go get my nails done. That's a big self-care thing for me. Um,
Nice.
I read a lot of books, uh, and I remind myself that wording matters when I'm talking to myself and when I'm talking to others. I think sometimes we say things flippantly and kind of forget that even if we necessarily don't mean it, it can have a negative connotation to it, which our thoughts then become negative thoughts. And so I tell the people that I work with often, if we can't be super positive, which is not always realistic, I'm aware, to at least be neutral and not be super negative so that we're in the middle and it's not like we're constantly talking bad about ourselves or about others. There's a neutral line where it's not necessarily super positive or super negative. So I use a lot of that in my daily activity just because I kind of have to with the populations that I work with.
Yeah,
Um, but I also do a lot of like debriefing and having conversations with my coworkers because we do spend so much time together in the jail, just to make sure that we stay on top of it and we're not letting ourselves get drugged down a little bit sometimes by the heaviness of others' mental health. We love what we do. It's draining sometimes, but
right.
it's super important. And so I think that by doing that, it really makes it easier for myself and my coworkers to make sure that we're staying in the moment without letting the moment overwhelm us, I guess.
For sure. And we're one question in. I can already tell how passionate you are about this. So that's a good thing. And we've talked about it in this pod before. I love the getting back to neutral mentality because there's some days where like this life will beat you up. It's a roller coaster. It's a lot of ups and downs. But I think getting back to neutral on tough days can help and really get to the other side of positivity. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, for sure. Positive thoughts can create so much better emotions in your life if you're not always focusing on the negative thing and try to make what you can into a positive is huge, and that affects your emotions and how you feel, and it can overlay into what you do after work as well. Like, oh, I'm having a bad day here, but try to be neutral, positive in that situation can have an
No doubt.
impact on your day, your week, your month. You never know what one little negative thing can have an impact on you.
I
uh,
agree.
for
I
sure,
agree.
with your thoughts.
For sure. And Diamond, what I would say is this, and it's kind of like a second like question B to that first question. As an athlete, being a three-sport college athlete, which is crazy. I thought it was two going into this. So you told me this week it was three. Did you feel like you did a good job of that with your positive self-talk back when you were 19, 20, 21?
I mean, honestly, like probably not in the sense where I was being intentional about it every single day, but before every game, no matter if I was playing volleyball or basketball, or if I was about to run a track meet, I would look myself, I took a shower. I was a weirdo. I took a shower before
I did
every
the
single
same.
competition.
I did the same thing. I did the same thing. It's
Yeah,
not weird. Don't say that's weird because that means I'm weird
every
too.
time.
Go ahead.
Every time. And then I would put mascara on, which I don't wear a lot of makeup even now, and I never did in college, but I'd put mascara on and I'd look myself in the mirror and I would say, look good, smell good, play good. And that was just a thing. And
Yeah.
so that was probably the extent of my self-talk, like my intentional self-talk before, but like in a game, right before we started, people would be like, Diamond, are you nervous? Are you ready? And I'd be like, I'm fine right now. Like we
Yeah.
got 7 hours before we play. I'm good. Like I'm not really focused or like amping myself up before we get there. And then right before tip off, right before the first serve, that's when like I was like, okay, we're doing this. Um, I just everything was so fast and I was going so hard all the time that I didn't really have time to be negative or necessarily positive to myself. But I did do a good job being intentional about being a good teammate and being positive as a leader. So I don't know. I don't think I did a bad job per se, but I'm not sure I was intentional about it. I'm not sure I did enough of it and set as good of an example as I probably could have. But I think that I set the example in the sense like you're always working hard, you're always being a good teammate, you set the tone for what you expect from others. And so I made sure that I did a good job with that. But when it comes to the self-talk part, I definitely do it more after sports than I did during,
Fair.
which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I want to go to Dave here because Dave, I'm hearing a lot of the stuff that you went through as a hitter, and we'll go into that here for a second on the baseball side. But what I want to compliment you on is that even when you weren't as perfect as you tried to be on the self-talk side, you made up for it with your work ethic and your leadership. And that was something that I always admired about you in high school, like especially basketball wise, because we used to come out to games and practice with you guys. And I love those days. I still remember that with Kelly Naughton and all those girls. And that was so fun. But I admired how you never backed down. You were a leader and you played your what off every day. And I think that made up for some of that. So I appreciate that. Dave, go ahead. Yeah, I got you.
That. I love the positive self-talk, but when things aren't going your way, is there anything else you do other than the positive self-talk that you may focus on when things don't go your way in your sport or in your life?
I think now that I feel like I'm out of shape and I'm washed up and I'm old, I still
Once
play
again, I'm not
volleyball.
taking that. I'm not taking that answer again. I'm just going to cut you off when you try to be modest. You can go play right now. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I still play a lot, and so I play a lot more like outdoor sand and grass volleyball. And I talk to myself more because I feel like I have to, just in the sense that like I can't or I'm not able to practice as often as I used to. So I'm not in the gym getting multiple reps all the time, every day, every single day. So when I play and things aren't going the right way, I don't know. It's hit or miss sometimes. Sometimes I'm not as positive with myself as I need to be. It's more just like, what the heck are you doing? Like, you're better than this. But that's not like super nice to say to yourself either. So I try to relax my shoulders and say, Diamond, you're good at volleyball. Like,
Right.
you,
Right.
you still can
Right.
do this. You
Right.
still got this. I think the women that I play with, which it's mostly women, are really awesome about helping pick each other up. And so I went from Cedar Rapids, which has a really intense, really competitive volleyball scene for adult volleyball, to Des Moines, which it's still pretty competitive, but it's just a bunch of people that I don't know, that I haven't built relationships with for the
Mhm.
last 6, 7 years, that I haven't become really good friends with, over the last few years. So it's all new to me. And so it's been a learning curve in the sense where it's like, all right, you're starting over again. Like when you get to college for the first day and you have to meet your teammates and you're trying to be the best and you're trying to like find friends and figure out what this is going to look like. It's like that all over again, but at
Yeah.
almost 30, which is terrible, by the way. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
But
Welcome to it, Diamond. Welcome to it.
yeah, right. So I think all of that to say, I think that, being intentional and trying to relax now is what I do, because I have no need to like be cutthroat and competitive all the time. I have no need to work out as much as I did in college and be yoked anymore. Like none
Right.
of that is anything that I want to do
Yeah.
anymore. So, recognizing that things change as you get older, you can still do it, keep moving, keep doing it. At least you're out there doing it. There are people who don't want to anymore. So I can at least say that I'm doing it still.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that answer. Yeah. Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that answer says a lot about your perspective and where you are. And it's okay, like I be where your feet are, kind of be in the moment. Okay, I get to play volleyball out here.
Yes.
You don't always associate with a mistake of being like, oh, the worst thing in the world. Like you
Yeah.
still get to be out there and be grateful for what you do get to do. I think that perspective is huge that you have.
Yeah. Dave, we're on the same page, man, this morning. I think the thing I took out of that, which is a great answer, was being intentional.
Yeah.
Like you said, being where your feet are, understanding that, you know what, I might not be a three sport college athlete anymore, but I have an awesome husband. I have a family. I have all this stuff that I'm looking to do. And I'm going to give my best to that today. And you have a job that I want to go into next that I don't think we've had anyone work this occupation for like just in general. So let's talk about the job a little bit, because I think that's so important, because I bet there's some ups and downs to that. So go right ahead.
So I finished my master's degree in social work last spring, May 2023.
Congratulations.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. And so right as that was happening, my husband told me that he was getting this job opportunity within his company to move to Des Moines, which is about 2 hours from Cedar Rapids. And he's being offered or accepting, wanting to accept a position there. And so it's kind of a scramble because I was just finishing grad school. I already had a job lined up. Before we moved, I worked in the emergency department at St. Luke's Hospital as a mental health professional. So when people would come in mental health crises or had, anything with their mental health, I was one of the people that worked with the provider and the emergency department as well as the nurses to figure out what to do with them. Do they go to the psych unit? Do they need more support that way? Do they go to some type of housing? Like, what can we do for this person right now? And so I loved that job and I was pumped about it. And they were offering me a job after I graduated, a different position. And so then when he told me we were moving, it was like we literally had a week to decide if we were going to do this. And so we, within a week and a half, put our house on the market, sold our house, bought a new house in Des Moines, and we're like trying to figure it out. So when I got to Des Moines, I accepted a job at one of the county jails there as a mental health professional. And so my daily day when we get there, we show up, we look at the reports from the jail side. So if someone goes on suicide watch in the jail, we're the ones who assess them to determine if we think that they're able to be safe enough to come off of suicide watch and kind of what the restrictions might be moving forward after they get off of suicide watch. If someone finds out that like their family member passed away or that they get broken up with on the phone, because those are recorded calls, the jail gets notified. We're the ones who go meet with them to see how they're doing and try to assess and see what we can do for them there. One of the best things about my job is that this is a forgotten population, honestly. It's a population that's sometimes considered unsavory, but doesn't mean that these people don't need help. And I get to be that person. I get to be someone who is a part of that, which I think is phenomenal. And one of the worst parts about my job is that it's all short-term help. And so it's very quick. Like I might spend an hour with you today and we talk about a bunch of stuff and I do a mental health evaluation with you and I let you get stuff off your chest. But I might never see you again. You might be getting released, you might be going to prison, you might be doing something else, and so that's one of the downsides is that we don't get to see like what happens over time because a lot
Right.
of this is short term. And so I, much to my boss's displeasure at times, I have a running list of people that I think need extra support that I will go when I have my own time and just do like every other week check-ins with them just to see how they're doing. And half the time they have no one that's checking in with them. They have no one who cares or wants to care for a multitude of reasons. I'm sure there's good reasons for those family members and those
Right.
acquaintances why they don't speak to these people anymore. That's not for me to say. But I know that I would rather be that one person for someone than not. And so I spend a lot of time outside of doing, I guess, what my job requires, trying to do something good that's not necessarily a requirement, I guess, if that makes sense.
Oh my goodness. On this podcast, I often talk about, I get caught listening sometimes. And like I did there because I can tell that you're going above and beyond. And not only that, but I could tell that if I had someone going through this, if they got an hour with somebody, I was hoping it'd be someone like you. So like, that's so powerful that one, you explained it, and two, that you go that extra step, because I think it inspires a lot of people that have relationships that have kind of gone sour and unsavory. I like that word, unsavory, and people that have kind of been thrown aside to, take that one extra step. And Ed Milet, Dave says, go one more all the time and do that one more thing. I love it. Go ahead, Dave.
That is powerful. We need more people like you in this universe, in this world. Just going out of your way to check on one more person might just make someone's day a little bit better. You never know how far that connection might go. Or just checking on them, like you said, once a month, not every day, but do what you can to have an impact on other people, which you are, is super powerful.
No doubt.
Super proud of you for that.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. Going into it, I have another question for you. For someone that may be struggling with their mental health, how do you check in on yourself, and what do you do in that situation for yourself? What can you do for yourself?
I think it's so funny that you guys made a comment about the fact that it seems like I'm intentional. So on top of working at the jail, I do therapy, individual therapy for people, and that is like my biggest, I don't know, that's what I talk about the most probably. I use the word intentional a lot. I think being intentional about what we do and everything we do is the best thing that we can do so that we can be genuine and authentic as we go throughout our day. And so I'm intentional about the verbiage I use. I'm intentional about my body language. I'm intentional about how I approach situations because I think it's important. Granted, I've not always been like this. This is
Right.
very recent in the last, 3 or 4 years where I've realized how important it is to be intentional about these things. And being in the mental health field, I think that makes it that much more important. And so checking in with yourself, it has to be intentional. It can't be just like, okay, well, I had a crappy day, I'm fine. It has to be like, okay, what was my week like? What did I do for myself this week? How did I decompress? How did I debrief if I had, you know, what what feels like either a crisis is what feels like or is a crisis or something that, just isn't great for us to experience. Who did I talk to about that? Am I keeping it all bottled up? Am I doing therapy? Am I going to see someone who's completely unbiased, who can help me work through things without having an opinion, or who doesn't know me or the people that I'm talking about? How do I work through these things by being intentional and figuring these things out? Because if I can't do that, am I being true to myself? And when it comes down to it, none of us can do any of the things that we do for others if we're not doing those same things for ourselves. So if we're not being intentional about our mental health and about our self-care, how are we going to continue to be successful in what we're doing if we're kind of miserable? Because being miserable is not really that fun, and we all know that. We've all been through some things that make us recognize that and realize that. We see what's going on in the world. We see all the things. And so if we're not trying to do those things for ourselves, we can't expect anyone to do it for us. We have to be the ones that are kind of take charge. And that's not always easy. It's hard, especially when we feel like crap, honestly.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, we're the ones who have to want it more than anyone else. And so being intentional about trying to do better for yourself so that you can then do better for others is what I talk about a lot. Just just to make sure that we're all on the same page. And, if you want to keep doing these things, we have to make sure that we're in the right mindset and the right headspace. And so I'm a big proponent of therapy. I think I see a lot of medications as well, which I'm a proponent of as well. But when it comes down to it, I'm like, do therapy also. It shouldn't
Right.
be doing one thing or the other. It should be both if that's what we're doing. I think even if you don't necessarily think that you have a mental health disorder or a mental illness, that you should still be doing therapy because it's just one of those things that you have this unbiased person who has no relation to you at all that can help you work through things. Something that I talk about a lot with the people that I see is like shop around for a therapist. There are plenty of people in the world that you're not going to get along with or that you don't vibe with. Don't just say, well, I tried that and it didn't work. Keep trying. Find
Yes.
someone. Keep going until you find someone that makes sense for you, that you feel comfortable with, that you feel like you can be vulnerable with to work through the things that you need to work through to feel better, as you go through these sessions. Um, so I just think being intentional with yourself and choosing yourself first, because you're the only one that gets to choose you fully and 100%. No one else can fully do that for you because they have to choose themselves also.
Yeah, just amazing answer. And I appreciate not only the detail to it, but you speaking to our audience. Because like I've said on this podcast 100, probably more than 100 times, like we have so many young athletes that listen to this. They're so impressionable and they need to hear from someone that has done this and now doing it in the field. It's refreshing to hear it. And I saw a video the other day and they were talking about how if you started your life today and you get one crack at this, like you probably should make decisions every day that really feel like, okay, I'm doing this because I love myself. I have one go at this. Like this is your one ride. So I think it's so important. And I think the importance of also knowing, okay, when you make a mistake, when you have negative self-talk, when you fall short in a certain area, you can always get back and, double down on some positive. Because I tell you, when we were in the prelude, I catch this kind of stuff now. I said in the prelude when I didn't have my background on, oh, I suck. Why did I not have my background fixed? And from that moment on, I said, I'm crushing the next 35 to 40 minutes. I'm not going back now. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah.
That's a rewind right there for anyone that's listening. Rewind that last 2 to 3 minutes. That was an absolutely amazing, one of the best answers I've heard.
Yes, I agree.
Ask those questions that you just went through to yourself to check on yourself. And if you're learning those answers that you may not be where you want to be, you can change. You have yourself. Yeah. You're the person. At the end of the day, it's you. Go ahead, Tat.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I'd say is, like my mom used to always say, consider the source. Like, not everyone is going to be your cup of tea. Not everyone is going to be the main character in your book, in your movie, in your story. Mm-hmm. But if we're kind along the way and we're searching for those answers, I think I'm a big believer in taking bits and pieces from everyone that we meet and making it our own and making it our journey. So I think it's powerful stuff. Well, Diamond, we are about 27 minutes in and you are blowing me away so far. And I know our listeners will get a lot out of it. Tell me your keep going moment. Like, I know you just mentioned keep going in your last kind of statement there. I was wondering how long we'd go until you dropped a keep going. Talk about your keep going moment.
Like in general, everyday moment, or
I'm going to say moment? It's your episode, your call, a moment that should have broke the normal person, but didn't break you down and it made you the person you are today.
Oh man. I feel like there's a lot of those moments that I feel
we've heard that before on this podcast. So do your best.
I don't know if I have like a specific moment, but I think like growing up, I didn't grow up the best. Single mom, 5 kids. I think we lived in poverty. I think I was the first one in my family to go to college. My older brother went to college too, so I guess I'm not the first one. My siblings and I are the first ones in our family to go to college. We're all first generation college students. And I think when I got to the point where it was like, you can do better than this. You can not repeat the cycle, which I don't know when I was 18, 19 years old, if I knew what repeat the cycle meant, like the cycle of poverty, the cycle of continuously living in this. Not that that's a bad thing per se. It's just not something I wanted for myself. And I wanted to build myself up, build my future children up, build the people around me up. And I was given the opportunity to do that through teachers who believed in me, through coaches who supported me and paid for me to play when I couldn't, when my mom couldn't afford to do that, who would pick me up and take me places. Kelly Naughton's dad is one of those people, and he recently just passed away, and it broke my heart because he would pick me up and take me to every single tournament and do all of that stuff for me. He would pay for things when he knew I couldn't pay for it. And I'm just like, no, I don't need it. And he'd be like, absolutely not. No. So I think that was truly the people, especially when I was younger, who went out of their way to show me that I was still important, even though I didn't feel like it, I think is my keep going moment. And I think that's something that I tried to then give to others as I move forward and get to work through life. Sorry, I'm getting emotional.
Oh, no. It's absolutely getting dusty. It's getting dusty in here. I think a tumbleweed just rolled by. Go ahead.
I just think like being able to provide that for other people has been really important for me. So there was one day where I was like, I remember what it felt like not feeling like I was important. I remember what it felt like not feeling like I could do the things that I wanted to do because I could not do the things. And there were people out there who showed me that I was worth it to do that. And so I think being able to provide that for others has been really great. So I think that would be my keep going moment in general. And that has allowed me to do so many things and meet so many great people since then. And then also remember what it feels like to be in that, and then not allow other people to feel like that, or try to show them that there's someone out there that actually cares, that just wants to smile at you or hear how your day is and be genuine and authentic. So I think I've tried to live my life that way since then because of that, because of the opportunities that other people allowed for me to have, to be able to provide those opportunities for others, even if they're in small ways, if that makes sense.
It 100% does. And I think me and Dave, we had a hitting coach, and we talk about Steve Pearson all the time. And we've had teachers and families and coaches, and like, I don't know. I think sometimes people just want to feel like, you believe in them. And I think
Yeah,
that's so
exactly.
powerful. And I can just tell in your job now, and obviously to the Nodden family, I'm so sorry for the loss. Obviously, that was very recent in the Elk Grove
Yeah.
community. I think people just want to feel enough, and they want to feel like they're believed in, and they want to feel like they can do it. And I think that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing that. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, I love that keep going moment. Um, there are people out there that care about you. There are people out there that, yeah, that are here for you. Even if you don't think that they care
Yeah.
about you. They love
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
like there are people out there who want to see you succeed and want the best for you. And sometimes it's easy to forget that when it's not right there in your face. And so I think that's,
100%.
like a daily reminder also. There are a lot of people who maybe don't talk to you or check in with you every day, but that still want you to have good things and for you to do good things. So thank
No
you.
doubt. No, thank you. And I appreciate that. And we always go rapid fire questions at the end, which we're gonna do. But the first one I'm gonna ask Dave, because it kind of branches off the answer Diamond just gave. Obviously, the Auden family, and there's other people along the way that have been a big part of your life, a big part of your mental health. Shout out some people that have inspired you and people that have been there for you as well.
I have been fortunate, I think, to meet lifelong friends in my college experience. And so if I had to shout out the people right now who I think constantly are always on my side, even when they probably shouldn't be, who are always supporting me, who are always rooting for me. Renee Poulos, who actually went to Hersey High School.
Yes.
We ended up going to college and playing basketball together. She's a phenomenal human. Haley Grana, who was in the picture that I sent you, she was my point guard in
Yes.
college.
Yes.
She's phenomenal. They all actually live in the Chicago area still. Corey Davis was on the men's basketball team at Cornell. He was phenomenal. He would be a person who would be great for this podcast also if
Oh,
you ever
here
need
we
it.
go.
Let me
I'll
know.
take it. I'll
He's
take it. Yes.
phenomenal. And so I think I have a really solid group of friends from college. And then when it comes to like influential people, my basketball coach in college, Brent Brazzi from Cornell College, he is when I talk about being intentional and when I talk about positive self-talk, he is one of the biggest influencers of that just because he is all about to the point where it's like irritating, honestly, and I've told him this before, so I can say that.
Oh, you're good.
He is so like you got this. You're fine. You'll get through it. You'll work through it. Which is great because it's great to have someone like that in your corner. But when it always felt like it was crumbling, it was like, all right, Brazzy, please stop. Like you're driving me nuts.
Yeah.
But he is someone when I got married, I did like a father-daughter dance, and I asked a few people who had influenced my life to come up and dance with me as my father-daughter dance, and he was one of them. And so I think as for influential people who have continued to support me even after the fact, he asked me to come to Cornell and talk to the athletes all the time. He asked me to do Zoom calls with them and stuff like that. So he's definitely someone I would shout out. My husband has been phenomenal through all of this. I met him my 5th year of college, him and his family.
Shout him out, because your last name is not Boyd anymore. It's not Ruth. So please shout out your wonderful husband too.
My
Yes.
last name is Ruth, actually. Garrett Ruth is my husband. He's phenomenal.
So tell me about that, because on Facebook, is that because of your profession now? Talk to me
Yes.
about that. You got to go into that
Yes.
now.
Yeah, so I changed on Facebook, on all of my social media accounts, I changed my last name to my middle name, which is a weird middle name, Syber.
Got it. You could see
Because
how I thought that was the last name, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
because I sign legal documentation, and so people try to find me on social media when they leave the jail and stuff like that. And so it's easier not to have my last name up there
I get it.
found so easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I changed it to my middle name. I had so many people reach out to me like, is something going on that I should know about? And I'm like, no, that's actually my middle name.
Fair. No, I get that. So I'm one of those people. I'm glad we went into that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's
Continue.
so
Sorry to
funny.
cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I think those are my shout outs. My family has been super supportive and really great. My sisters, Ayana, Orion, Destiny, my mom, Amber. So I've had a lot of support, in my life and people who have been in my corner for a long time. Even when I didn't realize that they were in my corner, they were in my corner. And so lots of good things over here for sure.
I
I'm very
love that.
blessed.
I love that. A lot of blessings, it sounds like. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, sounds like you have a very good support system around you. I love that. I'm gonna transition here from left field, just a random.
That makes
fire.
sense. You were an outfielder, Dave. That makes sense. That
Being,
makes sense.
being a 3-sport athlete, I'm guessing you guys got a lot of food, a lot of road games. What was your favorite meal as an athlete?
Love that.
So this is so funny. My all of our teams, like our cafeteria would like pack us sandwiches and like, different snacks like clementines, cheese sticks, that kind of stuff. And I hate cold meat sandwiches, in case you guys are wondering. I hate them.
Okay, that's a big thing I needed to know. Okay, go ahead.
I really don't really like them that much. I never have. I don't know why. And so I always hated like the meals that we got. But then for volleyball, our volleyball coach like totally believed in like stopping and feeding us good food. So we go to Noodles a
Nice.
lot. We'd go to
Ooh.
Panera.
Ooh.
So I will say my volleyball travel was my favorite meals because we always went somewhere nice. And then
Nice.
when we went to the NCAA tournament, we'd get like even better food. We'd go out to like sit down restaurants and do that kind of stuff. So something that's not a sandwich was my favorite meal when I was in college, just because I had so many of them and I had to eat them when I didn't want to.
Yeah, I always make the joke is Diamond, obviously Cornell is Division III, correct?
Yes.
So I always make the joke, myself and Luke Wheat, who is the other co-founder of this podcast of the nonprofit, we're both D3 guys. We always talk about like, it was always cool when a mom would bring like sandwiches that weren't like what we usually had, or if it was someone's birthday, like these are like things the D3 level that people don't get. So like, I'm glad that you're kind of debunking that because that goes a long way. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. It was
All
awesome.
right. No doubt. All right. Let me give you one more. It's one of my favorites. And I already asked like kind of who inspires you, but I want to kind of give you your flowers moment here. Like, is there anything on the podcast so far that you haven't touched on that you really want to make sure you cover today?
I think since it is Suicide Awareness Month, I would love to talk about just kind of my experience with that in the last year, if you're okay with that.
You're perfect, Diamond. Go ahead.
My friend Danielle, she went to Elk Grove also. She was a soccer player. I played basketball with her growing up. She ended up committing suicide in December of last year, and it was a shock. It was really, really hard. And so I think in the last since then, I think I've been really thinking about the things that matter, I guess, like the things that are important, the bigger things, I guess, and some of the little things that I think we sometimes forget about that matter in daily, everyday things. Um, I just the reminder that just like Dave said, there are people out there who love you and who care. Um, don't forget that in your hardest times, someone will still have your back. And that's something that I've been telling a lot of people, even, the population that I get to work with every day. We talk a lot about even when it feels like there's nothing, you have that one person, whether it be your children, whether it be your partner, whether it be your parents, those people are still supporting you in small ways, even though it doesn't feel like it. Um, so just to talk about just suicide and the phenomena I think that we are going through right now with suicide and going through COVID and how hard that was. And there are a lot of people who haven't recovered and that still talk about it, that come in and talk about the trauma. And I'm going to use the word PTSD. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but that's the word I'm going to use
Go for it.
from the effects of COVID and how that still impacts them, 4 years after the fact. And there's a lot more out there than we think. So I just stay grounded or try to reach out to the people that you feel like you haven't heard to in a while. Just remind them that you care and that you want to hear how they're doing. I think that's really important, and especially this month because everyone's talking about it. But every month, all year, every day, 365. If you feel like there's someone you haven't reached out to in a while, reach out to them. Just say hi. Danny used to do homie checks, and so that's what we call them, homie checks.
Yeah.
Do those. They're little things, but it's just a quick check-in to remind you that there's someone out there who's thinking about you, who cares. So if you have a moment to do a homie check this month, do one.
Yeah. There's a rant incoming. So if you want to cut the podcast off and put it as played before I go to my rant here. Yeah. Anytime the Elk Grove community gets affected, you feel it. I'm not sitting here and saying I was super close with Danielle, but I know you were. And any interaction I had with your group of friends at Elk Grove was positive. You guys are great people, and it always hurts. We talked about the Nuns earlier, and we've had several losses in the Elk Grove and Kona community over the last 10 years. And it's just how life goes. And unfortunately, I'm trying to get through this, but like we fall at some points, and it's unfortunate. And we look back and we can just do what we can. Dave is a part of it. We have an accountability partners chat that actually has 35 people in it that inspired this podcast, inspired this nonprofit. And my goal of that chat when we got started was to do the homie check, was to do the, hey, how are you doing? Because I know life gets hard, and life does get hard. We're not saying it's going to be perfect. I don't know. There's a lot that goes into that. And I hope people that are listening right now, if you need to reach out, if you're struggling, if you're having these thoughts, if you're having these hard times during a month where this keeps coming up, please reach out to myself, Dave. Diamond would love to talk to you. You've made that very clear. Please reach out. If this is your sign today, I just reach out, please. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, people are here for you, no doubt. For whatever you may be going through, you matter. Like you make a difference on this world, no matter if you think it or you don't. You have an impact on other people, and you're better here for sure.
Amen. And I'd like to tell Dave, and I guess we'll do a little homie check live on the pod. Dave is the one that's doing all the graphics on our page. And I want to thank David and just be very clear that, Dave, those are awesome, man. You're making an impact. Those are heartfelt. And we appreciate you as a community in mental health. We're all together in this. And I'm heading to a walk, like I told you guys, for suicide prevention at 10 o'clock. And, the bracelets will be going out and we'll be shining our light today. So I'm happy to be able to share this with you guys today. Awesome. Diamond, this has been awesome today. This is long overdue. Like I said, I didn't know you were so in depth in the mental health field, but goodness, am I thankful that people get to talk to you every day. Because I know I've cried, I've laughed, I'm still crying. I'm trying to stop crying, but thank you for sharing your story and being such a light today for our listeners.
Thanks for having me on, you guys. It means the world to me. I'm very thankful that, someone out there is like, hey, what she has to say matters. So that's important. I think what you guys are doing is phenomenal, and a good reminder for all of us to lock in and remember the struggle and have that community feel of the struggle, but know that we have a community that also wants to tell us that we can get through it and support us through it. So super appreciate that. It's been really great. I appreciate you guys and just want to say thank you for having me on.
I appreciate that. And I will wrap us up. I'd be doing you a disservice. I didn't ask this. We went through a lot of episodes without ever asking our guests like what we can do for them, because I know this episode is going to play hundreds and thousands of times for people that need it. How can we help you going forward?
Just remember to be a light for someone else. I think we don't have enough people in the world who do that. And it's obvious that you guys do that already. But pass it on. I tell people all the time how important their light is and how unfortunate it would be if it continued to dim or went out. I mean it every time I say it. So just remind people that their light does shine bright, and that there are people out there who want to be encompassed by the warmth and that light that they bring to others. So don't let it dim. And so that's what I want you to do for me. Is just remind people of that. I think that can go a long way. And if we could have everyone light up, how great would that be?
Consider it done. Consider it done. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being here. And Dave, anything to cap us off, brother?
Thank you. I know you've made an impact on me, and you impact so many people around this world. So thank you for being you. Thank you for coming on today.
No doubt. I'm gonna give one more plug, and then I'll get us out of here. We used to practice against Diamond. I mentioned it earlier in the episode when we were at Elk Grove. So we would have the guys that were out of season for their sports compete against the girls at Elk Grove in basketball. And I don't know why this always stuck with me, but like I always loved watching Diamond not only compete, but lift up her teammates when we used to full half court press and like put pressure on your guards. And like, you're the definition, Diamond, of someone that always raises people up around you. And I could not let that episode go by without telling you that you are that. You've been that way for as long as I've known you. So that will always stay with me. And I really love you and appreciate you for that.
Thanks, P. That means a lot to me. It means the world to me. So I appreciate that you saw that. It only got better since then. Don't you worry. Never
Oh my
stopped.
goodness. I don't know how, because even back then it was so enlightening. But thank you guys. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and we'll wrap up today, guys.
You too. Bye, guys.
Later. Keep going. Bye-bye.